I think it's good cinema. I consider it good cinema. You sit there in a movie theater.
For more than 3 decades, Quentin Tarantino has been Hollywood's reckless genius. The man who revolutionized film with Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, and Django Unchained. But there's a dark secret behind that legend. At 62, he's finally speaking out, naming 5 actors he vowed he'd never work with again. And here's the surprise. Some were Hollywood legends he once considered friends, others as idols. They stabbed him in the back after success. Today, we reveal the stars he hated. And once you know why, you'll never view Tarantino or his films the same way again. Number 1, George Clooney, the film star. Tarantino banished from his universe. Let's begin with the one that surprises everybody. George Clooney. Yeah, that George Clooney. The charm, the smile, the Oscar-winning face of Hollywood. You'd assume he's the type of fellow every director keeps on speed dial. But to Quentin Tarantino, he was the epitome of all the director dislikes about the film industry. Theirs began in 1995 with From Dusk Till Dawn. Quentin had written it. Clooney had starred. It had all the makings of being a great combination of star power and mayhem. But as filming progressed, Tarantino began to view Clooney as Hollywood, too neat for the anarchy he adored. Cast and crew members said Quentin became increasingly annoyed by the smooth control Clooney exercised on location, referring to him as a TV actor attempting to scrape by in a Tarantino film. Clooney, meanwhile, viewed Quentin as a genius who spoke his mind. Decades later, tensions spilled into the open. Quentin made a comment during an interview that would ring in Hollywood gossip columns forever. George Clooney is not an actor. Clooney retorted, "All right, dude. __ off." That took any possibility of working together again. Tarantino, who typically recycles his favorites, never spoke of Clooney again. The movie went on to be a cult classic, but the friendship never survived the credits. For Quentin, this wasn't ego. It was about integrity. He despised stars who brought glamour to his brutal worlds. And for Clooney, that dismissal turned into a study in how ruthless artistic allegiance can be. Two men who made each other's careers only to erase each other from their minds. Number 2, Bruce Willis, the Pulp Fiction partner who turned his back on Tarantino. You ever see Pulp Fiction and think to yourself, why is Bruce Willis never appearing in any other Tarantino film? Yeah, there was a reason, and it was not pretty. What appeared to be a Hollywood miracle on screen was in reality a slow-motion breakdown behind the camera. When Quentin hired Bruce to play Butch Coolidge in 1993, it was a risk for both men. Willis had just gotten his tail kicked by the critics with Hudson Hawk and Color of Night. Tarantino, off the success of Reservoir Dogs, wanted to show he could handle stars, even troublesome ones. Initially, they tolerated each other. Quentin referred to Bruce as the ideal combination of grit and tragedy. But that respect was not mutual. From people on the set, Bruce detested being directed by a younger, inexperienced director. Tarantino, on the other hand, handled his script as if it were the Bible. Crew members reported that Bruce habitually disregarded direction, altering tone or timing in the middle of a scene. Quentin would shut down and insist on a reset. The air became incendiary. Willis had walked off on one-night shoot following a shouting match over how Butch should deliver his last line. When Pulp Fiction was a success in 1994, everybody anticipated a reunion. Tarantino instead iced him out. In subsequent interviews, he sung the praises of Travolta, Jackson, and Thurman, but never Bruce. It wasn't neglect. It was erasure. Those around Tarantino say the aftermath was personal. He was betrayed by an actor who wouldn't collaborate with his vision. And for Bruce, it was the role that rescued his career but ended a partnership forever. Number 3, Will Smith, the superstar who spurned Tarantino when stardom came calling. Will Smith rejected Django Unchained, and it still bothers him in Quentin Tarantino. When Quentin initially presented him with the starring role in 2011, it was not another film. It was a game-changer on paper. The opportunity for Will Smith to portray an enslaved individual turned avenger, a role designed for anger, blood, and redemption. But their meeting did not go as well as expected quickly. Will wanted love to take center stage. Quentin, on the other hand, wanted vengeance. Two egos and one ready-to-explode situation. It has to be about love, not vengeance, Smith later said. Tarantino heard that and ended the discussion abruptly. That, to him, was an indication that did not get the soul of Django, the anger, the hurt, the cleansing he'd written. When will abandon ship? Quentin took his place with Jamie Foxx, and the rest is movie history. But the backlash did not end there. Sources said that Tarantino felt publicly humiliated, describing Smith as too cautious, while felt Quentin's screenplays romanticized violence. In interviews in 2013, Smith conceded, "I couldn't connect to that energy," an indirect way of saying he could not trust the director's morals. Tarantino lashed back months later, half in jest. He wanted to be the hero, but it's not that type of movie. That one line stabbed deep. What began as a disagreement over creativity evolved into silent resentment. They've never had a conversation since. Two men at the pinnacle of Hollywood, divided by one script. Number 4, Kevin Costner, the American hero, Tarantino ridiculed openly. Quentin Tarantino never enjoyed Kevin Costner. Not as a performer, not as a concept. He once joked that Costner's characters all belong in Sunday school. And that line pretty much sums up how deep the divide runs between them. In the early 90s, Costner ruled Hollywood. He'd just won Oscars for Dances with Wolves, then followed with Robin Hood, JFK, and The Bodyguard. He was the face of American decency. Tarantino came from the opposite universe. Crooked gangsters, messy violence, redemption through blood. When Costner criticized directors who revel in moral anarchy in an interview in 1995, Quentin felt that it was directed at him. According to friends, he laughed first, and then grumbled, "Yeah, that guy wouldn't make it through one day in my films." Tarantino began using Costner as an inside joke from that point on. In a 1997 film school lecture, he made a joke that if Costner ever appeared in one of his films, I'd have to shoot him in the first 5 minutes just to make it worth watching. The crowd erupted, but insiders claimed Quentin was deadpan. Costner was everything stodgy, predictable, and unexciting about old-school filmmaking to him. Years went by, and Costner remained quiet, but in private conversations with reporters revealed Tarantino's movies were fascinating but hollow. That only fueled Quentin's disdain. They've never actually met, never spoken a word. But even today, when Tarantino mocks Hollywood's proxy heroes, everybody knows he's talking about them. Two men, two Americas, one wearing the hero's face, the other cackling while he squeezes the trigger. Number 5, Edward Norton, the perfectionist. Tarantino, blacklisted for life. Do you know the humorous thing about Edward Norton? Anyone who's ever worked with him says the same thing. Genius, but impossible. And that is precisely the sort of temperament that Quentin Tarantino detests.